With the shocking overnight collapse of the Russian-backed regime in Syria, it is now more apparent than ever that Russian President Vladimir Putin is a greatly diminished despot who can be defeated in Ukraine. But will Republicans in Congress have the courage to stand up to Donald Trump and continue to fund Ukraine's heroic fight for freedom? Welcome to the No Spin Zone. Graphs Grievances starts right now. In a stunning turn of events over the weekend, rebel forces toppling the brutal Assad regime in Syria that controlled the Middle Eastern country for more than 50 years. During that time, President Bashar al-Assad and his father before him exerted brutal force against the Syrian people to stay in power, including attacks with chemical weapons, barrel bombs, murder, torture, and mass exterminations. These horrific human rights violations and crimes against humanity by the Assad regime, and I cannot stress that enough, against their own people were supported by Russian President Vladimir Putin. As for why Putin supported and propped up Assad with weapons, Russian troops, and military advisors, that is complex and multifaceted. But it seems to boil down to Putin wanting a base of influence in the Middle East, and more importantly, Putin wanting to prevent the overthrow of an autocratic regime similar to his own, out of fear that such a revolution could inspire the same in Russia. That is why Putin was very involved in helping Assad crush a peaceful uprising against his rule in 2011. Russia providing Assad with weapons and troops needed to launch a violent crackdown against non-violent street demonstrations and launch a bloody civil war, which resulted in more than 500,000 Syrians dying and millions more fleeing their homes. This massive atrocity, sponsored by Russia, not only allowing Assad to reclaim control of most of Syria, but greatly boosting Putin's influence and strength in the Middle East. According to many analysts, it was this military success in Syria that emboldened Putin and made him believe he could one day capture Ukraine, which ironically seems to explain why Russia failed to keep Assad in power over the weekend, since Moscow's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Putin has not only sent all of Russia's military might to fight there, but Putin has focused all of his attention on trying to defeat the surprisingly resilient Ukrainian forces. In addition, Assad's other ally, Iran, has also recently been distracted by Israel's war in Gaza. All of this appearing to explain why Syrian rebel groups were finally able to topple Assad. Abandoned by his two biggest supporters, Russia and Iran, Assad could not put up a fight and fled to, you guessed it, Russia. As for what comes next in Syria, that remains a big open question. The main rebel group behind Assad's ouster had early links to the Islamic State and then to al-Qaeda. And while they claim to have reformed from those extremist groups, the United States and other Western countries still consider them a terrorist group. So in essence, we will watch and wait to see what happens next in Syria. But what we do know is that the fall of Assad is a great humiliation for Putin and reveals just how weak he really is. Until this weekend, Russia viewed Syria as central to their strategy of exerting influence over the Middle East and the Mediterranean. Russia spent hundreds of millions of dollars building military bases in Syria that they used to not only keep Assad in power, but also flex their military muscle as far away as West Africa. The overthrow of Assad represents a direct rebuke of Russia and entirely invalidates Putin's argument that the former Soviet Union is a world power and should be treated as such. as President-elect Donald Trump takes office and promises to immediately end Russia's war in Ukraine by forcing them to cede territory to Russia, Republicans in Congress should not accept that very pro-Putin resolution. Putin's Russia is the house of cards of the 21st century. His projection of massive strength and influence are entirely fabricated. For nearly 3 years, Putin has tried to conquer Ukraine, a country smaller than the size of Texas, only to fight to a stalemate. Now is not the time for America to give up on the former Soviet republic. I hope Republicans in Congress see what just happened in Syria as a big sign of Putin's weakness and work with Democrats to continue to fund Ukraine's fight against Russia, even if Trump tries to force a deal excessively favorable to Putin. Thank you for watching Graf's Grievances. Let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe, share. It really helps me grow this channel. And join me tomorrow for more.